Anil, the love doctor. I'm so excited for this conversation. How are you today?
I'm excited to be here. You're a rock star, so my honor.
Thank you. You're very, very kind. So for the audience, this is my friend and colleague, Anil Gupta, and he's recognized worldwide as the love doctor because he helps couples in rekindling their relationships and singles in finding the right partner. And I was single 12 years ago, and it was awful. So people need people like you. But oh, I love this. Your proudest achievement is your 34-year marriage to Mina and raising two successful and happy children. Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment right there, right?
Yeah, it's mostly my wife, so I can't take too much credit for that.
You have so many accolades. There's too many. I'm going to let you share it all, but I love the fact that you've given relationship and mindset workshops in over 18 countries with over 10,000 fans in attendance. I mean, that's really incredible.
Yeah, and it's really about content. When you have great content, people listen, and this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to give you great content, and the promise is that you'll be moved, touched, inspired. You'll gain many insights that you can immediately apply so that you can add more years to your life and more life to your years. And isn't that what it's all about?
Ah, yes. Amen. Thank you for that. Because that's what I love to give my audience is the golden nuggets that they can apply right now. So we're going to dive into all that, but I want to hear about your story. How did you become known as the love doctor?
Well, it started in 2008. I was on the verge of suicide, and it was a terrible time for me, going back there right now. I remember going up to my hotel room. My wife was there, and I said, "Honey, there's some really bad news I have to tell you. Sit down." And she sat down and she looked up at me, and I said, "Look, we've lost everything in the stock market, real estate. We've lost the house, the cars, the student college fund, everything." And it was a terrible experience for me because, that's what I've been working for the last 42 odd years. And I was shocked by my wife's response. She looked up at me and she smiled. I I didn't know what to do. I felt like if something was wrong. Your behavior in the last few weeks was very strange. And I thought something serious had happened. I said, "Honey, this is the most serious thing that could possibly happen. What are you talking about?" Ooh. And then
Yeah, it's
she said, "Honey, I thought you had cancer. I thought you were dying. I don't care about the money." And I'm going back to that moment right now, and I thought, that's what you're worried about? I was just worried about the money. I would
yeah.
rather have had cancer than the money, than lose the money. Isn't that strange?
Well, it puts things in perspective, that's for sure, right?
Yeah. So, and then she said, "I don't care about the money. We'll sleep in the streets if we have to. And you still have two amazing kids." And I thought, wow, that's a big asset, still in the money mode. And I said, "No, you're right." And she said, "Look, as long as we're together, we're happy." And
Mm.
when you have someone like that, when you said 12 years ago was a lonely time, but when you have someone like that, when you have someone who's supporting you, unbelievable things will happen. And all of the accolades, so to speak, happened after that because it was not about who I was, but who I was being, how I showed up.
Yes. Yes.
And this is what I would tell your listeners. Look, no matter what you're going through, no matter what's going on, it's not what happens in life, it's who you become.
Yeah.
Choose today. Who are you going to become?
Yeah. It really boils down to that. And it's so simple, yet it's not always easy for people to really grasp that because it's a shift in, everyone's perception. And many times people sit in that victim mentality, right? And I mean, it's getting to the point, Anil, that almost every single interview I do, I say this, and I'm grateful for that because I want people to hear it over and over and over, is that when you sit in whatever circumstances you're going through and you get to the other side, what you realize is that it happened for you and not to you. And I'm sure that's how you feel about what you went through.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a distinction here. So, for example, if something happens, a victim will say it's happened to me, and a
Yes.
victim will stay there. So, in my case, it happened to me until I made a choice that it happened for me.
That's right.
And, you know, Sandy, you said something so powerful. It's simple, but it's not easy. I know how to lose weight. It's simple, but it's not easy. So
Yeah.
by you taking action, the joy in you taking that action is what the fulfilling part is. It's not the end result. It's who you become.
I love that. And you're not the only person that has lost everything, right? And had to start over. It happens quite frequently. And you're one of the lucky ones that survived it, right? Because so many people do take their own lives because of something like that. Yeah.
But
So was
I didn't survive it.
okay.
I thrived it.
You thrived it. I love that.
And
I
it's,
love
you
that
know,
distinction.
isn't it? And people say, I'm a cancer survivor. I said, no, you're not. You are not a cancer survivor. You're a cancer thriver. It's huge. That one word can make the difference. It makes the difference.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm going to pay attention to that and shift that wording. So thank you for that. And I hope the listeners got that, because that is such a huge energetic shift, really.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. It is.
Yeah.
And
Oh
we
my
made that
gosh.
promise to the listeners today that they're going to get great value. And we're only just started.
We are. Oh, wow. So talk about like some of the things at the basic level when you have a client that comes to you. Can you share just some of the things that you work with people and the ways that you help them find love, or, you know, enrich their marriage and or find a partner?
Yeah. So in relationships, there's a formula that if you follow this formula, you'll never make the wrong choice. Any
Okay.
partner that you choose, and it's so powerful. And I tell you, Sandy, people do relationships the wrong way around. They say yes to a partner until it becomes a no. So they say yes, oh, I'm in a relationship, great. But they don't know anything about the other person. They haven't done their due diligence. And as they get into the relationship, they find out, oh, this partner has issues. This partner has this partner has that. And then they pop out of the relationship, but much later than they should do. But the right way to do a relationship is keep on saying no until the boxes are ticked. Then you say yes. And the three boxes that everyone has to tick are this. The first box is your partner and you must have integrity. Okay, the second one, your partner and you must be loving. Not just transactionally, oh, I'll be loving when you're loving. No, to everybody, to the waiter, the barista, you know, the dog walker, your neighbor, everyone. And the third one is that they have to be healthy, and you have to be healthy emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally. So this is the foundation. So if, for example, you were buying a house, you wouldn't look at the house and buy it. No, you do your research, you do your due diligence, you know, the appraisal, the location, the neighbors, the schools, the hospitals, the motorways, the liens, the tax stuff, the everything. And then you make an informed decision, the valuation. But people don't do that in relationship. They'll spend more time picking a house, a car, a business than they do on finding the relationship. And you know, love on first sight. Okay, it may work, but has it really worked? No. You got to do your due diligence. Healthy, loving, and integrous. And a great thing people can do is look back at your previous relationships and ask yourself which of those were missing. And I promise you, at least two of those were missing. And you think, oh my God, if only I knew that formula then.
That's really, really key. And I'm glad you pointed it out like that, because integrity, I mean, you can kind of pinpoint that pretty quickly with somebody, right?
You can. And
Like you
the
said, the way
beautiful
they treat
thing,
the waiter or the
yeah,
wait staff in a restaurant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can curate it, meaning that you can ask questions, you can create situations where you can observe their integrity, their loving and their healthiness. You
Yeah.
see, why not curate your next partner? Why not create circumstances where you can test them out? Because they may say, oh, I love children. You go for a walk in the park with them and a child is running towards them and they're scared. You There's a lack of integrity there, and they're not being loving, and it's not healthy. So,
Right.
people they know what to say to you, but it's up to you to see if they're telling the truth.
Well, because I also think that when a relationship is new, we're always on our best behavior, right? Because you want them to like you want to impress them, you want to come across in whatever way in your mind you think you should be. And that's and both are doing it. And until you
Yeah.
really see their true colors, right? That's when you really can see who that person really is, because most people don't show who they really are from the get-go.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right there. You have two actors on stage,
Mhm.
and when you're dating, you're the best version of yourself, and you give 100% to the other person, and they give you 100%. But then, as you date, and as it becomes more comfortable, it becomes more transactional, and that's when, as you say, the true colors come out. But what if you didn't go through that process? You filtered them out before you dated, then all the other acting and pretense disappears. You can be you, they can be them. You know about them, they know about you. How cool would that be? Then it becomes effortless and frictionless, and then you can make an informed decision. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Oh yeah, for sure. And of course, as you're talking, I'm thinking about how it was when I met my husband, and it really was love at first sight. And looking back, he's the same way he is today from the time I met him. Like, he's just that type of person. What you see is what you get. And I think I've grown into that, right? But he used to joke, be like, yeah, I'm still waiting for her crazy to come out. And I'm like, it's not going to come out until after we're married. I'm going to wait until we're married, and then you'll see my crazy, right?
That's what happens. That's what happens. People change because they think, I don't have to act anymore. I don't have to
Right.
be that person anymore. And
Yeah.
then you say, well, you're not the man I married, and they'll say, you're not the woman I married. The woman I married used to do this. The man I married used to do that. But what if that never happened? What if you could have an amazing relationship like Sandy? How cool would that
Yeah.
be?
Well, and I tell you, because sometimes people don't believe me, and I'm like, we're going on 11 years together. It'll be 8 years. We're married in June. Yes. And I never thought in a million years that I would have this kind of relationship. And here's what I did for the listeners. So my ex-husband and I had been legally separated for probably about 9 months, but we'd been living under the same roof. And I moved out, and it was 3 months after I had been living alone and had been a few dates. I tried the online dating thing. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry for people that go through that. But I have heard really great success stories, right? And I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, what is it that I want? And I wrote in my journal and I made this long list of what I wanted in my next marriage, because I knew I was going to be married again. And that was March. I met my husband, in June of the following year. Because when we put our requests out, it doesn't happen right away. You just have to put it out there. And I did. I totally forgot about it. And next thing you know, when you least expect it, I was dragged to this like mixer. I didn't want to go. I was like, I will go for 10 minutes and I'm out of here. I didn't want to be there. Within the first few minutes, I met him, and here we are still together. And it dawned on me a few months after, I pulled up that list, and he checked every single box and then some, except for one. He's in the other room right now, so he's here. He's probably listening to this, but I tell this story all the time. The one thing the box that he didn't check was he doesn't cook for me. But it
Yet.
wasn't a deal breaker.
Yet.
It wasn't a deal breaker. So, it's okay. and I always tell, like, I manifested my husband, and we
Yeah.
met in a place because he lived 45 minutes from me. Our paths probably would never have crossed if we had not both, we were both dragged to this event by somebody else. He didn't want to
Yeah.
be there. I didn't want to be there. And here we are. So yeah, so that's my little nugget. Write down what you want and put it out in the universe. And when you least expect it, it'll show up.
And you know that there's a reason it showed up. One was that you were being, not a doing. You're just being yourself, and he was being
Yeah,
himself. And
right.
that's what I teach my clients. I work on them so that they become integrous, they become loving, they become healthy. Then I say to them, look, the magical thing will happen. Your partner will come to you. You don't have to look for them.
Yep.
But when you meet them, you'll know because you've had so much practice in saying no, 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 no. And it's not that you have to do anything, you just have to be yourself. And then when
Right.
you're being yourself, your vibrational energy changes, and that becomes an attraction to the right type of person. And you're not attracting the wrong type of person. A lot of people say to me, Anil, why am I attracting the wrong type of people? It's because how you're showing up.
Yeah.
Once you're authentic, everything changes.
I'm a high performance results coach. So my clients come to me because they want a specific results. A lot of them are athletes, business leaders, entrepreneurs, whatever the case may be. But I'll give you an example. I had this one woman, she came to me because she was an ice dancer in her mid 60s and she has MS. So that made it very difficult. And she was going for a pretty high level test that at any age would be difficult, let alone somebody with MS. So she got the results she was looking for. She passed the test, first time taking it, which she was beyond thrilled. But what happened was all these other parts of her life started to get really good. A daughter that I think that they just didn't have a great relationship. All of a sudden, they had this amazing relationship. And I had to explain to her, I was like, it's because of the way you're showing up in the world, and the work that we've been doing helps you to show up in a vibrational way that is in alignment to who you are. And therefore, everything else just gets better in your life.
Yeah. And it's the power of compounding. For
Yeah.
example, if you have an alarm clock, it wakes you up. The benefit of that is you have a rested sleep. The benefit of that, you're more productive. The benefit of that, you have more time with family. The benefit of that, you're not anxious. The benefit of that, you have more energy. The benefit of that, you make a bigger impact. The benefit of that, you lead a richer, fuller, happier life. And that's just an alarm clock. So, when you get a coach like Sandy and you have different modalities and different thought processes and your vibrational energy changes, the compounding effect of that is huge. And Einstein said that's the greatest force on the earth,
I
compounding.
love, I love how you explain that. I've never really heard it explained like that. And you dumbed it
Yes,
down to with an alarm clock, which is a basic thing
it is.
most people have used.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I love
that's what
that.
we do as coaches. We make it simple and easy to implement. And the
Yeah.
secret is we as coaches, we mentor you and fast track you to a place that you never thought was possible. Your ice skater never thought that was possible. And there's more to come. There is more to come. And she doesn't know it because she's never experienced it. Sandy, you and I have experienced it. And
Right.
we know 17 steps ahead what's going to happen. And they just don't know.
Yeah. Wow. So what else is what else do you do? Can you share with us some of the other things that you do? I know you've spoken on so many stages and whatnot, but what are some of the other things that you do to help some of your clients that you're working with?
So let me give you one of my most brilliant exercises, and it's just one sentence that will change their lives. So get ready. I'm going to give you a 6-second pause because I want the momentum to rise. And what's it going to say? What's it going to say? This is so profound. Are you ready? Be so amazing that you cannot be ignored. And if you are ignored, it doesn't matter because who you have become in that process will be a magnificent soul. Be
Oh my
so
gosh.
amazing that you cannot be ignored.
Be so amazing that you cannot be ignored. I love
Be
that.
be the best version of yourself, with your partner, with your workmates, with your friends, just walking along the street. Be the best version of you, even if no one's looking, and you'll see a massive change. Things will happen for you. Magical things will appear, magical moments will appear, and your life will completely change. That's what changed my life. When I was suicidal, I started becoming so amazing that I couldn't be ignored. And it was incredible. A friend of mine said, Anil, why don't you do events? And I said, I'm a little bit scared. And he said, what are you scared of? I said, look, what if no one turns up? And he said, Anil, if no one turns up, no one will know. I thought, got it, I'll do it. But you have to get on stage. You have to show up. If Sandy didn't show up at that dinner party, nothing would have happened. So you have to show up. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever it is, just show up. Something will happen, because if you've been working on yourself, it has to happen.
Well, so many amazing things have happened in my life since I've launched this podcast, which was in February of 2021. And like the domino effect is just remarkable. I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had this one interaction with this one person where we met, and things that just boom. I mean, I can't even believe it because I showed up.
Yeah, you got to show up.
Yeah.
I remember my son showed up at an event on Richard Branson's island. And my son said to Richard, I've just spent a night at a hotel. I've got some suggestions. So Richard came out and with pen and paper, and he started taking notes. Then he wrote something down and he gave it to my son. And guess what he wrote? His email address. He said, email me. I'll invite you to the grand opening. And from there, my son was gracious enough to take me. I met someone who was on Fox News. I spoke on Fox News a couple of times, and I met some other people and some other people. But you have to show up. You have to say yes. When you say yes to life, you're saying yes to impact.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. And I want to talk a little bit more about showing up. And because I don't get that many guests on that think the exact same way I do. So what is the first step that you would tell people to help them to really see that you need to show up? And what is one thing that people can do that you talk about to help them to flip that switch?
Okay. So this may be a little bit uncomfortable for some people, but this exercise will transform your life. And this is the exercise I would ask you to do right now. Write your obituary.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. It took me 6 months to write mine because I thought that's morbid. But as soon as I wrote it, I realized that where I am and where I want to get to, there was a big gap. And I thought, am I committed to my obituary? I said, yeah. So then I started to say yes to everything that I possibly could because there's a gap. See, most people live in the gain, which is where you are and what you've done in the past. That's the gain, but you're living in the past.
Okay.
But if you live into the future and realize this isn't about you, it's about the difference that you make. This isn't about your ego. By you not showing up, someone's life could not be impacted positively. So say yes to a brand new life, say yes to impact, and yes to the gap.
I love that. I've heard that same exercise, but in a little bit different formats of it. And I use some of those, which, write a letter to your future self. I like that though, because I had a coach once, Jen Gottlieb. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She's amazing. And she talked about, reaching the end of your life and looking back. And did you become the person that you wanted to be? And I like that because for me, when you first said that, it was like, right. It was a little bit of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
right. Really? And it really, trying to find the words.
It's emotional, wasn't it?
It's emotional. It is.
And emotion creates change.
Because I know, and I've been saying this for quite a while now, and thanks to my mom, who is 82 years young, and she has to use a walker. And And I think it's kind of hit her like, ooh, and she's now ready to make some changes. So everything that I do is for my future self, because thanks to her, like, I don't want that to be me. Right. And so I'm making sure I'm staying active as possible. And I've got some really big, audacious goals because I'm an athlete and, all of those things. And I'm doing it all for my future self because it's so important. And I think not everybody thinks that way until you reach a certain age. And you really should start thinking about that when you're in your 20s and 30s.
Yeah, and realize now that if you're 50 today, you're going to live to 100. And if you're 60 today, you're going to live to 105. No, that's the other way around. If you're 50 today, you're going to probably live to about 120. If you're 60 today, you're going to live to 100. Think about that, because the longevity growth span is happening now. So
Right.
the last thing you want is the last 20 or 30 years of your life to be painful and bedridden or in with some form of irrevocable disease. So take action now. By
Right.
you taking action now, the compounding effect, we spoke about this, is huge. Do 5 minutes of yoga a day, 5 minutes of stretching a day. It'll make a difference over the long term.
And when you mentioned the compounding effects, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
huge.
a lot of people think of the compounding when it comes to interest, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you brought that up, because that's so key when you think about it.
Yeah. So another example would be if I said to you, Sandy, can you be 0.5% happier today?
Yeah,
Could you?
absolutely.
0.5%
Absolutely.
more playful, joyful, fun, centered, generous, giving. But if you compounded that over 100 days, imagine where you'd be. Every day you got a little bit better.
Yeah.
Compounded every single day. So listeners, I'm telling you, listen to what we're saying to you, take some action, get on the field, get to say yes, take action today, immediately. It starts in here. This is the most expensive real estate in the world. Everything starts in here. By you making a decision up here will change everything, not just for you, but for your family, your community, the country, the world. Believe it or not, you can impact the world. We don't know how, but you could. And there's
Yeah,
too much at stake if you don't take action.
that's right. And I know, so often people think that in improvement, it has to be big jumps. And I know I tell a lot of my clients, I'm like, every week, I don't even break it down to the day. I'm like, just 1% better. Just try to get 1% better. Because, you compound that. It's not like if you 1% better every week, in 5 weeks, you're going to be 5% better. No, you compound that, it's going to be even greater.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
Yeah.
if you look back at your life, you will notice that you've created many achievements over your lifetime, but you've not thought about them for a long time. But if you really look back, all the achievements that you've made are enormous,
Mm-hmm.
but it happened gradually. That's why it's not as noticeable as if it would happen suddenly.
Yeah.
So,
And Jen Gottlieb always talks about a badass list. Make sure you have that badass list and write down all the things that you've done that have been really spectacular. Because if you have a weak moment, pull that out and you'll be like, whoa, I did that. I did that. I did that. And it just brings you back up. Yeah,
it
good
is.
stuff.
Yeah. Life is not about the number of breaths you take, but the number of times your breath is taken away. What were the magical moments of your life? Write them down. And as Sandy says, if you're feeling down, just pull those magical moments up.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed how powerful that is.
Yes. Yes. Anil, this has been such an amazing conversation. I'm so grateful that you spent this time with me today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience, and how can they find you as well?
So the best way is my website is meetanil.com. And if you're struggling with any relationship issues, and really, if you need any guidance, I've probably got a few spots left. If you go to chatwithanil.com, you can have a session with me. But I want to leave you with something that's so powerful. I want all of you to perform 5 random acts of kindness today. Open the door, thank someone, just be nice to someone, do something for someone else, and notice how you feel, because everything that we do is for the feeling that it gives us.
Yes.
And when someone sees you performing an act of kindness, it impacts them too. This will change your life.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Love Dr. Anil. This has been amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm going to follow you and support you in any way that I can. And thank you for having me on your show.
Same here. Thank you, Anil.
Good. Thanks.